Yay.
I, of course, was on Ocean Audio and forgot that there was a confirmation box. So sorry, Bernard, you're going to have to adjust mine by like a second.
Sam,
I'm the worst.
what are we gonna do with you?
Such a problem, child. We can't take you anywhere.
We can't.
I am so freaking excited, guys.
You're the real, never mind, I already forgot the names of the characters of the group.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we sell out and play what people pay us for. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias, Sailor Sellout Warren.
And I'm... can't think of a clever pun, Maddie Weapon.
Maddie Spiffle Out Weapon.
Oh yeah, I haven't introduced myself as Spiffle in ages.
Yeah. But, today we will be discussing the first half of Chapter 1 of Higurashi When They Cry for the PC, and since this is a visual novel and chock full of content, we will basically get right started. But first, we owe our boy Francesco at GRPGT on Twitter 5 minutes of us just talking about his Twitter. That's the only thing he has going on right now. He has a YouTube channel that he hasn't gotten around to in a while because he's I think he's like moving around a lot lately, but his YouTube channel is great. His Twitter is also great, and yeah, 5 minutes is a hard thing to promise for just a Twitter.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that I'm following him on Twitter.
I'm actually not following him.
It's at JRPG_TEA, and that is where you can find him. It's also at twitter.com/JRPG_T.
Wow, I'm a terrible RPG book club friend because I'm not following him.
I would have followed him instantly if I thought about it. I just didn't think about it.
But in my defense, I don't think he's following me either, and now I'm offended.
Wow, way to go.
Same.
Calling you out.
Doesn't follow
putting
me
you
either.
on blast.
His Twitter is frequently conversation starter tweets, which I always try to do, but I end up just retweeting Bernie memes on ours. Like I try, like on Twitterific, if I hold the retweet button for half a second, it'll ask me if I want to retweet it from my personal account instead. But that half a second just doesn't ever happen for me. So, whoops. But yeah, so he has...
Sam, I forget you even... I usually forget that Sam even has a personal account. I'm just like, I think of... When I want to send something to Sam, I send it to RPG Book Club.
Yeah. So Francesco's Twitter is, like I said, is mostly conversation starters, and they're all, like, good ones, too. Like, just this last week, the one he did was, convince me to play the game you're playing in a sentence or less. So, let's try and do Higurashi in a sentence or less. Eli, you go first.
Oh, Higurashi in a sentence or less. Oh shit. Nothing happens until suddenly, holy shit, something happens.
Yeah.
Here's my sentence. If you turn on auto mode, you don't have to push any buttons.
Mine would be the greatest dating sim of our generation. Just when you start up the game, scroll down for like a second or two. Don't worry about the sounds you're hearing, and then just enjoy the visual novel of a dating sim and just see where that goes. But yeah, it's real hard. Let's do Lost Odyssey. What's Lost Odyssey in a sentence or less?
Lost Odyssey in a sentence or less. Eli's too fucking lazy to play it.
Final Fantasy, but if Final Fantasy was good. Just kidding.
No, this is pretty valid. I can't think of anything. It's not a very simple game. Actually.
It's really not.
Okay, it's got. Okay, here we go. The best party characters of any Japanese role-playing game.
I agree with that so far.
You'll agree with it even more in a few weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how chunky this game is. Not to go on Lost Odyssey tangents. You just weren't here to go off on them yesterday. But
I know. I want to listen to hear what y'all were saying about that stuff
for about 45 minutes.
We didn't say nearly enough, and I feel bad about it. Cause,
it was a super short week, so it happens.
Yeah, and very little happened. But when we play next week, you'll be like, "Yeah, this had to be 2 weeks."
Yeah. But, I'm surprised at how chonky it is because, like, we haven't done much, and we're almost at the end of the first disc, and it's like I feel with like other games, you do a lot more per disc, but this one is just kind of like, yeah, we're making our way to the first. We made our way to the first like landmark, and then something bad happened, and now we're in our second town, and next week the disc ends.
I 100% agree. The only comparable game I can think of is Legend of Dragoon, honestly.
Yeah.
Because Legend of Dragoon, like, yeah, more things happen in Disc 1, but they're not things that matter to the plot at all.
Yeah. But it's crazy.
But it is pretty similar. It's just like, oh, that's the end of the first disc, huh? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, if you like Gundams or JRPG news or JRPG-related discussion topics or pictures of tea, the JRPG's Twitter and YouTube channel are where it's at. So definitely give our boy some love. And now for that, instead of finishing to check my notifications on Twitter because it's a drug, I am going to listen to some great music. I actually didn't look up who it was by. I know it's by a bunch of different people, but I really like it. Bernard was talking shit about it, but I actually really, really like it. But we'll listen to some of that, and then we'll get started. Funny if instead of doing the music right there, I just do the creepy ass laugh that starts the game.
Oh god!
No, you gotta do that. You gotta do that. Like legitimately, you should just do the cicada sound instead.
That would be great. All right, maximizing my notes because there's a lot, and we gotta get through a lot. All right, so yeah, the game starts with a super weird, creepy laugh, and there's a intro that's like sort of a tone poem type feel where it's just like it's not giving you plot relevant information. It's all just like poetically talking about love, but it's like talking about someone that's being beaten to death, but in a sexy way. They're just like, oh, I love you so much, and I'm glad you had to kill me, and yada yada yada. I understand everything. You were so beautiful. Blah 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 blah. Please, senpai, murder me. And it's weird.
It's like the opposite. It's like a yandere's best dream.
It's pretty hot.
Yeah. And it's wild. It was not at all what it was at that moment that I'm like, wait, this was the game with all the cute girls on Steam, right? Like, what happened? So, after the intro, the perspective changes to 1983, and our narrator, KG, complains that his new city has nothing, and he misses the hustle and bustle of the city, even if he never did do anything. Which, like, in college, Ian Buckler, shout-outs if you're still alive, Ian. I haven't seen you on active on any socials. But, he grew up in Cedar Park, and he complained about living in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, okay, being 30 minutes away from a big city is not the middle of nowhere. Being 30 minutes away from a city is the middle of nowhere. Don't come for me, Ian. But
Yeah, also the whole I miss that city, even though I literally never did anything that was cool in the city. I'm like, yeah, that's how I feel about Austin.
Yeah. Live music capital of the world. I've only been to shows that I've played.
Well, to be fair, well, never mind. I'm not going to say anything.
True.
I shouldn't shit talk Austin's music scene.
Yeah, they'll come for you. So,
there's at least one good band. It's called the Red Hero.
Hey.
Well, it was. See, no, now there's
zero
good bands.
We're done for. So, Keiichi's new town is called Hinamizawa, and it's in the middle of nowhere, away from I forget the name of the real town that's close to it. It's like Oni something or other.
Oni-chan.
Yeah, Oni-chan. So, Keiichi's dad is a painter, and Keiichi thinks that's super duper easy, and he doesn't understand his dad. And every morning on the way to school, he's walked there by Rena, his classmate, and she's the girl from the box art. And Keiichi is like a dick to her, but he seems aware of how dickish she is to her at this point, where he's like, yeah, I'm going to fuck with her because obviously, like, she likes me and I probably like her, but instead I'm going to be a dick because that's what kids in high school do.
He's being tsundere.
Yeah. Baka! So,
yeah.
So he keeps trying to be like Eli's bosses and raise her resistance to trolling, which doesn't ever work. So Keiichi is a dickweed. And, so I had read the first bit of Umineko when I had started Higurashi, and this is a thing that Ryukishi does with both of his main characters, where like you meet them before the drama happens, and you're like, you know what? I hope you do get murdered. But then the drama happens and they step up to be a better main character. I don't know if Keiichi does yet. He hasn't necessarily stepped up to do anything yet, but he definitely starts on the same sort of just like, man, I hope you die. I hope you go first. So, on the way to school, they meet Mion, a senior who's horny as hell, and
she calls herself Old Man, which is I love it.
So we all ended up playing with 07th mod, which tweaks the script a little bit to make it reflect what the subtitles are, because the voice acting, because the voice acting changed a few things in the PS2 release to get farther away from like copyright and stuff. So Colonel Sanders, Kintakun becomes Colonel Randy, and other weird things like that. And in the straight translation, she calls herself a geezer, which I wish they would have kept, because geezer and old man are basically the same. But
saying this old man constantly is honestly kind of clunky.
Yeah.
Makes you think of Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. It's a little weird. Geezer was probably better. So, hey, 07th mod, you should revert the script changes. It's okay. We can handle it. But
we'll be okay.
But so we find out that Keiichi had just returned from a short trip to this city for a funeral, and he doesn't talk much about it. When they get to school, the school only has 30 kids, and they're all in the same classroom, and so the teacher has to teach each kid something different all day, which is nuts, but also is how the school works in Whole Day Zeta. But yeah, I'm from the actual country. I know place, like I saw this and I'm like, oh yeah, that's just like all my friends from Hull. But when Keiichi gets to school, he fails to deflect a Rube Goldbergian set of pranks by Satoko. Like there's like I can't even remember what sets it off, but it's like
there's an eraser that's up on top.
Yeah,
of
it's like wedged in the sliding door, so it'll fall on
filled with rocks.
Yeah, and then there's like thumbtacks all on the side, so if he goes to open it, he'll hit himself. Like it's a masterful prank by Satoko-chan.
And I gotta say, 2 of the 3 parts of the prank are like pranky things, like haha, be funny, and eraser, haha, it's funny you got ink on yourself. Okay, but like the middle one is, as you just said, thumbtacks coming out of the doorknob. He's gonna like literally like stab himself. Like he's gonna be bleeding. Like that's a little. It's like okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go to the fucking nurse's office.
Yeah, it was at that point that me and Summer were like, yeah, Satoko did it. I don't even know what the murder is yet, but Satoko did it. So he's sprawling in pain on the floor, and he's comforted by being pat on the head by a purple-haired girl named Rika, and that's basically all of the main characters. Bang, bang, boom. So now we get to just hang out with our main characters for 5 hours.
All of the main characters? I think you mean all of the characters.
Well, no. There's...
No, there are extra characters.
I'm exaggerating a little bit. Hold on, so my Tascam didn't... it ran out of space, and I had to clear the space, so hold on. Okay.
Cool.
Sorry, Bernard.
Yep. But it'll be okay. We have the beginning and the ending to still line it up with, as long as we don't have to match a third one in the middle. That's when it gets hard.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so then we watch a bunch of classroom-related shenanigans, and Rena thinks that the youngest two are so cute, and she wants to take them home. And so when Mion and Keiichi pick on them, Rena hits them and knocks them out flat to the fucking floor. And it's so, like, elevated and weird, and I love it, and no one else loved it yet.
Actually, I was pretty much on board right from this first scene. I was like, I can see how objectively nothing is happening, and these scenes are kind of interminable and boring, but I really like these characters. I'm enjoying hanging out with them, and I don't have to push any buttons.
Yeah.
So I was really chill with it.
Here's my thing: visual novels aren't games, and like,
we're gonna have to heavily disagree there.
I'm gonna say this one fucking isn't. It's a fuzzy line.
Yeah,
but this one's on one side of the line.
Specifically, this one is not a game because there's no gameplay except clicking through dialogue.
It's a book with graphics and music, and you have to press a button. Except you don't if you put it on auto mode.
So that's why like I was complaining at first because like, and I mean, there are visual novels that I really like that do take a while to ramp up. And once this did get going, it got good, but it was really hard for me to get through the first several hours because nothing happened.
Yeah,
so I get world building. I get wanting to get to know the characters really well and get attached to them, but I also don't read because I have ADHD. Yeah. And it was just really hard for me.
No, I think some of it's not defensively. I don't think you need to make excuses. I think like some scenes were like, yeah, that scene took 20 minutes and nothing happened, and it didn't even world build or character build. It was just funny, and I guess it was like kind of funny. They could have cut that scene.
So
yeah,
maybe it comes from me starting Umineko in the manga first, and maybe the manga goes faster there to get to the juicy bits more, and so maybe Umineko the game has the same way. But like every single thing that happened, I feel is a clue, and so like while
every single thing, though,
I think every single thing, knowing what I know, I think every single thing, if not, is a clue to the murder, is clue about the person, which will lead into a thing. Like we are halfway through the first eighth of this whole story, so like there's a.
I will say, because of what you said, Sam. I will say, because of what you said about that subject on the chat, every single time something happened, I was like, okay, like every time they're like saying like, oh, and then she drew, and then she played, everyone thought she was going to play an ace, but then she played a 2. Aha. And in reversal, I was like, okay, making note of that. That exact same thing is going to happen later, but in a murdery way.
Yeah, like
so. I actually was trying to clue in on that wavelength, and we'll see how much of it pays off. Because yeah, I was like, you know what, fine game. I'm going to go ahead and act like every single thing is going to be some kind of weird parallel later. You know what I mean? I only noticed a couple though that I think are actually gonna be. There's only a few that I exclusively picked up on though. We'll talk about those.
Yeah,
later.
I want to get to our memorable moments so we can make guesses, and I can talk about the things that Summer picked up on that I didn't. And I kept trying to get her on the podcast, but as you can hear in the background right now, she's busy.
There's baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. Yeah, so school ends, and they decide to meet up and walk around town with Keiichi the next day. So Keiichi picks on Rena about liking him, but Mion catches on that he obviously likes Rena back. So Mion picks on Rena, and they both get punched out again because that's Rena's shtick. So they meet up the next day, and Rena made a picnic for everyone, and we get to see their new casual outfits, and they're so cute. And that reminds me, what art did you guys play the game on?
The new art that came with the mod.
The mod?
Yeah, I played with the default art, the one that was called... I think the default is console.
Yeah. So after the mod, the default is the PS2 versions. I prefer the manga gamer versions, which are there under the remake. But did you guys look at the original art ever?
No.
Oh yeah.
It's like
bad.
Is it
it's
bad?
like bafflingly bad, but super charming because it's consistent in its badness. It's not like a crappy MS Paint drawing. It's like, oh no, this person just like their style is bad anime, and
they tried their best.
It's weird.
But I did briefly click over to the remake style, but it was in the scene I was in, at least. It was close enough that it's like there weren't enough differences for me to be able to evaluate if I liked it better or not. I was like, if it had been that way the whole time, I probably would have liked it fine. Yeah. But since I couldn't really figure it out, I was just like, I can't make this decision. So then I just left it on console. I was like, console's fine. I don't dislike remake so much that I won't switch to it, but I also don't love it so much that I have to switch to it. And this is actually, why are you making me choose actually?
Yeah. So
it's like, do you want chocolate or slightly more different chocolate?
So the reason I bring it up right here is Mion's casual outfit has a fucking gun. In the original art,
I didn't even notice.
It's not in the PlayStation or the manga gamer. In the original art, she's wearing like an FBI fucking holster.
Right,
that has a gun.
I was playing the original up until this point.
Oh, you were. So wait.
Yeah, because I didn't have the mod at first.
No, with the original, where like it looked like anime, like it looked like real.
Okay,
there are three arts. There's the one you play when you download Steam, which is the Manga Gamer remake art. There's the one when you get the mod, which is the PlayStation 2 art. But included in the Manga Gamer art is the original art. So you can click over to get the one from 2002, and it looks like MS Paint, but like with a style, and it is.
I didn't know.
I've got to look this up.
Yeah. So
what's that character's name?
Mion.
Mion.
So yeah, look up Mion sprites and. Hopefully that won't spoil it for you.
I'm just searching Mion Sonozaki gun.
But yeah, it's wild. Like I asked Francesco why she had a gun in the original art, and he was like, "I can't say, it's a spoiler." And I don't know if he's trolling me or what, but if we were playing the original, we would see a gun this whole time, and it would be Chekhov's gun and not ever be shot.
Yeah, well, if it actually is a spoiler, that means at some point she uses the gun, which is even weirder for us playing in this version, because at some point it's just going to be like, oh yeah, it turns out she's she's been packing heat the entire game. Oh, we didn't mention she had an open carry license. Also, we didn't mention that apparently this town in Japan has open carry.
Yes. It's so weird, especially because like. So this is 1983. Umineko takes place in 1986, and it's a plot point in Umineko that like Japan doesn't allow guns. So when a person pulls out a gun, everyone's like super freaky because they're like, "How do you even have one?" Because guns are illegal in Japan, And so
Right.
Mion just having one strapped to her 3 years earlier is whatever, I guess.
Okay, I'm looking at it now, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's
That sure is
that
a gun.
sure is just a gun.
Can you link it?
Yeah, drop it in the chat.
Will do.
So yeah, so they pass everyone in the town, and all the small towners know everyone, including Keiichi already. And Keiichi feels bad because he just sits around and plays in his room all day and doesn't know anybody. So when they get up to the shrine, they are joined by Satoko and Rika, and they all have a picnic and a competition to see how much they can make Rena blush. And Rika and Satoko win, but Keiichi has a good effort. And probably my favorite memorable moment that we'll get to in a second is this scene right here. It's real good. So on the way home, Rena and Keiichi stop at a construction site, and the music that happens there is real good, and I really like it.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a fucking gun. Just...
Also, her facial expression.
Okay,
Also,
yeah.
her facial expression is good too. Like, she's so proud of herself. She's like, "I've got a gun."
Yeah.
I got a gun. Let's go have a picnic.
Wow.
But yeah, so the second one there is the remake art, which I really like, but it's functionally identical to the PS2 art, so it's no big deal. Yeah, so they so Rena goes off to climb some shit, and a photographer named Tomitake shows up, and he's a real big creep at this point. I end up loving him by like the next time he shows up, but this first meeting I did not trust him whatsoever, because he's he takes a picture of Keiichi just standing there, and Keiichi's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I normally like to photograph birds because they don't have to consent." And I'm like, "What the fuck, Tomitake?" It was...
yeah, it's a little,
I don't know. I read
weird.
it more as like after he saw the reaction on Keishi's face, he's like, "Oh, right. I guess you have to ask people for permission." So then the bird thing was like a joke. He's like, "Oh yeah, that thing I just did that was wrong. That's not a problem when you photograph birds."
Yeah, like that's how it is.
That's
but
how I
it's
read
still, like, just the sentence. I usually photograph birds, and I don't have to worry about consent. It's just weird. But turns out he's a great guy. I love this kid. But
Yeah, I do.
R.I.P. Whoops, spoiler. So Tomitake asks what Rena's doing, and if she's looking for the dead body. My notes have 7 question marks. From the disturbing incident, 7 question marks. And they never found one of the arms, 7 question marks.
Okay, wait. So, I was playing without the mod at first, and it did not specify who was saying what. I was under the impression that Keiichi was fucking with Tomitake by saying, "Oh, she's probably down there looking for a dead body."
Yeah, so I had thought that at first. I got about halfway done with this week before we installed the mod. And so I remember thinking that at first, but there's something at the end of the thing where Keiichi is monologuing to himself, and he's like, "What the hell was Tomitake talking about with the dead body and the blah, 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 blah." Yeah, and so...
Okay.
What the hell is he Tomo talking
Yeah,
about?
so I in my notes, I actually had to go back and change it from Keiichi to Tomitake right now, which is another reason why the mod is great, because it just puts a name tag on everybody, and...
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
So, Rena comes back and Tomitake leaves, and Rena finds a Colonel Sanders doll that she really wants to take home, but it's buried under some stuff, and Summer was like, What's all this shit about Colonel Sanders? And I'm like, oh, you haven't heard about Japan's fascination with Colonel goddamn Sanders? And that's a whole wiki hole that you should get into, but it's like...
Oh,
It's
man.
so weird.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
KFC had a big marketing campaign that they used to convince people that in the U.S. on Christmas Day, everybody eats KFC fried chicken.
And it worked.
And now, at Christmas in Japan, everyone eats KFC
Now,
fried
to
chicken.
be fair, KFC rules.
And so my favorite bit of Japan Colonel Sanders related trivia is they think that he's cursed because the Hanshin Tigers from Osaka are a really shitty baseball team, and they won the not World Series, but whatever, like leading up to the big championship game, and then in celebration they stole one of the Colonel Sanders statues outside of a KFC and threw it into the river. So then, for the next 20 years, the Tigers are a shitty team. So they did shitty, and everyone always is like, "Oh, it's the curse of the Colonel," and it's this huge big thing. And so divers actually dove down like 3 years ago and retrieved the statue, and then the Tigers got back into the World Series like that year. It's like the curse is over.
What the fuck?
It's
Holy
amazing.
Shit. That's
like,
insane.
Definitely just go look up Colonel Sanders Japan trivia. It'll be more interesting than the rest of this podcast. So, Keiichi promises to help her dig out the Colonel Sanders later, and they walk home. And Keiichi asks what that construction site was. Were they building a dam or something? And Rena says she doesn't know. She only moved here last year, but something feels super fishy about the way that she says it. Like she's just like,
she says it in a real like suspicious way.
And Keiichi definitely picks up on it she answered that fucking quickly. And so the next day at school, everyone is talking about Rena's looking for treasure. And Keiichi asks everybody there about the dam, and Mion says that the Down fought and kept it from happening. The dam would have sunk Hinamizawa, and they weren't even letting the town have a say. And so at this point, I realized that Rena's school theme is basically just the Chocobo theme, and it then made both songs stuck in my head for like a whole week.
I hadn't noticed that, but I'm sure I will think about it next time I hear the music.
So, Mion and the girls, out of nowhere, basically vote to let Keiichi into their club, where they perform various activities for the club, and sometimes the rules work out for you, and sometimes they work out against you, and they describe it that way, and I'm like, what the hell? But it's a board game club. They play board games together. And it's like, I feel the way that they described it with you do various activities and sometimes the rules work out for you is going to be some sort of murder cult where it's like, all right, Keiichi, you got to go and kill somebody and then you can continue to play our game. It's definitely where I thought it was
I'm
going.
sure that wording is going to turn up later, twisted in an ironic way, maybe in like a Saw style fashion. Also, it should be noted that Mion here, she first of all, she's fucking great.
Yeah.
Also, she's fucking trash. Also, I guess it's a memorable moment. I'll share it later. But you know, there's the part where like you've been playing the game for 5 minutes and they're already talking about people's dicks.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's trash. She's a foul mouth. She's an asshole. She sucks. And worst of all, she's a gamer.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, did you pick me up some rare imported Western games? So yeah, she's a total fucking.
She's a
nerd,
reverse weeb,
but not a cute nerd, a shitty kind of nerd. Yeah, she's a reverse weeb, which is, I think, maybe even worse than being a weeb.
It's great. So they start playing Old Bachelor, which is like Old Maid, but I already forgot what the thing different instead of Old Maid was. Oh, it's
I don't even know what Old Maid is.
Old Maid is Uno adjacent. But it's using regular playing cards, and I remember now Old Bachelor is the same thing, but you take out one of the cards, so like one of them won't ever have a match. So if you end up with that one, you lose, type thing. That's what the difference is. But the girls are all cheaters, and they memorize the scratches and creases on their cards, so they know what the losing card was, and they knew to discard their 7 or whatever as soon as possible. And so Keiichi, of course, loses, but Mion challenges him to a game to switch the winner and loser. He has to guess what's in her hand based on the scratches that he picked up during the game. He figures out that she's cheating and has a card hidden under another card, but it was a double bluff. And if he would have guessed the first obvious guess, he would have won, but thinking through the bluff impresses everyone anyways. So.
Yeah, like he does a super crazy ultra 4-dimensional chess, and it turns out that the trick was that she didn't do that.
When I was reading this part, I was like, this is them just describing like a shitty kids card game and a shitty magic trick, and I'm riveted, and this is wild. The game had definitely had its teeth in me at this point.
It would have worked better if I knew what the rules of Old Maid were. In the narration, they're like, Old Bachelor, it's just like Old Maid. And I'm like, cool, that game that I definitely know how it works.
So, on the way home, Mion tells Keiichi about the incident from before. She talks about the protest, but when Keiichi asks about the murder, she goes, there wasn't one. And it's super fishy.
Yeah.
And
what murder?
Yeah, and so it's like Tim Rogers' voice. There wasn't one. And so at home, Keiichi's dad was in a shitty mood, so he's like, fuck this, and went to the dam to help Rena get Kinta-kun. So while digging, he finds a lot of old tabloids and figures that they'll have info about the incident. And so he scans through them all, and he finds out that the working class rolled up and killed and dismembered the ruling class foremen with axes because of their daily grievances. And I said, fuck yeah.
Yeah. It
eat the rich.
Just eat the rich. I was like, this game is good. This is a correct opinion. But then Rena shows back up with the goddamn axe. And I was like, what the hell? And she was like, oh, I just was getting it to help cut out some of the trash. But I'm just like, nah, this creepy character, because like the intro, kind of the way that the narrator talks about whoever's killing him is the same sort of way that Keiichi was talking about Rena in the following scene. So I've been suspicious of Rena this entire time. And she just shows up with the fucking axe, and I'm like, all right, here we go. But here we go in another 2 hours. But
the game is totally playing it up. Well, like, not only are we suspicious because, like, the intro and she keeps having an axe, but even the character, Keiichi's suspicious because of what he just read about the murders, right? Because he's like, this is a weird town. This girl's just parading around with an axe. People keep making jokes, but are they really jokes? It's good shit.
So, they decide to come back in the morning, and Keiichi steals the tabloid to take it with him. So, at the end of the chapter, it brings up what this game calls tips, where you can go and read extra information. Guys didn't have to, so you probably didn't read them. But
I actually have read all of them.
Oh, I did, and after each one, I was like, I thought this was going to be a tip, aka something important I need to know. But really, it was just some bullshit.
Every single one is important. So,
okay, well, I will. Okay, but still,
I'll
some
get
of them are important.
They all, like, me and Summer have a name and a face for the murderer after reading all of them. Like, that's how important they are. It's all slight things, but they're, like I said, everything's a tiny fucking clue.
Am I stupid because I have no fucking clue?
So it's
and I've read.
So it's one of
I've
those.
got some ideas.
It's one of those things where we were like, that name sounds familiar, and we went back and read another one, and we were like, oh, okay. And then it matched up with something from the story, and we're like, oh, okay, and we put it all together. So it's like we flexed our muscles to know that. It's not like the tips are like, Mion did it. It's like...
Okay, but I will say, though, some of those tips are like, okay, so the point of this tip is to establish why this school only has one classroom. And you're like, and then after like 4 minutes, it's like, cool, we finished that. And then the scene's like, no, we're going on for 7 more minutes with the characters doing dumb shit.
So that one's not actually... so that one starts with Keiichi asking about why they only have one classroom, but the important part is Mion's family's place that you learn about there, her clothing shop, and how it can't possibly make money, but they keep saying that they make a lot of money.
Oh yeah, that part's fun.
Yeah, so it's like those...
Bad example, but some of them do that.
But like... most of them are that sort of thing. We're like, oh, this is a stupid thing about blah blah blah, but that's all smoke and mirrors. And it's I'm grokking this game way too hard, and I probably sound like a nut. And I get that it's probably not for you guys, but it's
no. I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm just saying the scene. Okay, there's a lot of scenes that are definitely just supposed to be funny, that are anime humor, and I'm like, this was comic relief, like.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I still think everything. I've like circled and underlined things about everything. So we'll see how stupid I am as we get through it. But so Yeah, so in that tabloid, because we decided to read that one, the leader of the group decided or convinced everyone to, after they killed the foreman, to take part of the body and hide it so that everyone would be guilty, so no one would sell each other out. And the leader was never ever found, nor the arm, his body part that he had taken. So
also, either at this point or perhaps later, it said that I don't think it matters if you share it now. That the leader may or may not have accidentally died in a swamp while trying to get rid of his arm.
Like they, I don't know if it was there or later, but like they found his car like abandoned by the swamp nearby, type thing. But yeah. So the next day at PE, everyone's is playing zombie tag, and Mion wins by pretending to be it, and it's a spectacular scene filled with a lot of great anime moments that'll probably be clues for later, but not getting into it. It's kind of long, but good.
Yeah, anytime like a character betrays someone or does a reversal or does like a trick, I'm like, that's ironic foreshadowing.
Yes. But we have 5 hours of reading to get through, so skipping it for now. So after Keiichi heads home, he goes to the dam to help Rena, and on the way there, they run into Tomitake again, and Keiichi accidentally tells Tomitake to watch out for Rena because she's a killer, and Tomitake doesn't seem to catch on that it's a joke, and that seems like ironic foreshadowing. And so they get the Colonel Sanders out of the rubble, and Keiichi asks Rena why she moved here, and she completely dodges the question. So they get Colonel Randy out. I keep using all three names. I hope you can keep up. But Keiichi accidentally cuts off its arm, an obvious omen. So the next day at school, they're talking about how Rena's house is covered in weird things that she finds cute, and they talk about the upcoming.
She thinks practically
like
everything.
I tried to like get rhyme or reason, because like at first she was talking about the two younger girls, and I'm like, okay, easy, that's what kawaii means. And then she's like Colonel Sanders, and I'm like, okay, like if I stand on my head, I can get it. And then she's just like gum wrappers or some weird bullshit. I'm just like, all right, you're just insane.
You're just a hoarder.
Yeah.
You don't like things that are cute. You're just a hoarder.
Yeah. So it's in the scene that I think that Rika might be psychic, and I started to like me and Summer were keeping rankings of best girl and most likely killer, and is something in the scene where Keiichi was thinking about something and Rika was like responded to his inner thought, and she was like, oh, I could see it on your face. I'm like, that doesn't happen. You're a psychic.
Yeah, she keeps reading the narration.
Yeah. And
like reading that someone's upset on their face, reading that someone's hiding something on their face, sure. Reading that someone just thought the phrase, oh, what was it? Reading that someone had an extremely specific thought, no, come on.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I was
is it always
she might be a fourth wall breaker somehow.
So is it always only that character that does that?
So I think...
That's what I think.
Because I noticed it happening, but I hadn't realized it was always the same character.
Yeah, so I think it's always Rika, but one time I thought that Toko did it, or Rena did it at the festival, so maybe it's something everyone can do. Maybe it was supposed to be Rika.
Maybe it's just like a weird... I thought it was just like a weird writing quirk, personally.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, no one's that intuitive.
Yeah. But, so yeah, they talk about how they have an upcoming town festival, which is translated a bunch of different ways. The one I like the most is just the cotton freeing festival, because they take old cotton items and they thank them for their good service, and they dump them in the river, and so while they're talking about it, Mion says, oh, and this year we'll do the 4 demon firefight again this year, but it'll be a 5 demon firefight. And it's a group activity that, quote, tests the skills you have acquired in the group over the year. And I'm like, all right, I've played Danganronpa. I know what this is. They're going to have to kill somebody. And it wasn't. But
No, it was they go and do random bullshit.
They go and do random bullshit. So...
They're just causing a ruckus.
Yeah. And so then they play... they start playing President, which is actually a card game that me and Summer's family play all the freaking time. And Keiichi's like, I know your fucking game, and he brings a brand new deck of playing cards so that no one can cheat. So the losers have to do penalties that are made up by the rest of the group. So like everyone writes down a penalty and puts it in a hat, and then the loser has
they're
to
all
draw it.
super horny.
They're all super duper
Yeah.
horny. Like Mion loses and has to pet the balding principal's head. Rena loses, has to speak like a maid. Then she loses again and has to take off an item of clothing. But you could tell she was.
Oh, we forgot the first one. The first one. Oh wait, sorry. Speak like a maid. Yeah, not dressed. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then she has to take off an item of clothing, but she was wearing her PE outfit underneath, so obviously she was ready for it. Because they're conniving little assholes and probably all murderers. But so then Keiichi wins a whole bunch and basically ends up turning all of the girls into his harem. And then he finally loses, and he's like, "Look at all these penalties you've had to do. Like, I'll take my penalty. What is it?" And it's you have to do every single penalty thus far. So he has to speak like a maid, dress like a cat, be half naked, and go and pet the balding principal's head. And it's great.
On top of many other
things, and it's great. I love it. It was a good scene. So on the way home, Mion and Keiichi are walking together, and Tomitake shows back up and says that he's going to stay for the festival, but he has to leave to Tokyo after it's over. And it seems like he and Mion know each other. And so Mion and Keiichi both say that they are suspicious of Tomitake, and then there's a small time skip over like the next week or so because everyone's super busy. So then we get to the day of the festival, and like it's so weird that like we're already here to the festival because this is where it gets juicy, and that was like 4.5 hours of stuff we just like burned through.
Yeah. Well, like I said, nothing happens, and then suddenly something happens.
It's great.
And as soon as they say there's going to be a festival, I'm like, oh, okay, the festival is where things are going to happen.
Yeah.
That's how things work.
So, on the day of the festival, turns out the 5-demon firefight is just walking around and making on-the-spot bets with each other, most of them being eating contests. And then they have a find a cute object contest, and it's amazing. All of the times, like, as much as I was like, Keiichi is a dick to Rena, all of the times he's a dick to Rena to, like, exploit her cute factor is the best scene in the game. Like, they're so fucking funny. They're so good. But
it actually shows that he actually knows her really well, and is actually he's actually very sensitive to her needs, which is cool.
Yeah.
He takes advantage of that and exploits her needs, but it does show that he's able to win because he actually does
notice and care about her.
Notice things that other people don't notice. Yeah.
So then Tomitake joins the group for a shooting gallery contest, which Keiichi won. It was this big, super dramatic way that he won and everything. And then they're headed to the cotton freeing ceremony, and everyone makes up an excuse to leave Keiichi and Rena by themselves, and they have a moment and they kiss, and you're like, oh, it's so happy. And then so the ceremony is everyone taking they have this old futon for the year, and they cut it open, and everyone takes the cotton from the futon and they set it in the water by candlelight, and it's a real nice, pretty little ceremony and everything. So then the game goes a little meta, and a disembodied voice in full screen instead of in the text box if you're playing with the mod talks about how Keiichi had no idea that he was walking into the dark abyss, and that was the last time that he had basically freedom or something. And it's like, wait, what the fuck? And then suddenly it's back to Keiichi like it's nothing. It was just this big, ominous, like, hey, Eli, you've gotten through all of the boring parts. Now you can like the game.
Yes, signpost. Yeah. This is the part where Eli starts to care.
Yeah, it was a very, very noticeable, like, attention getting like, okay, this is a shift.
Did we lose you, Maddie?
Oh,
I think we
I wasn't saying anything. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it. People are dropping audio all the time.
Right? So Keiichi meets up with Tomitake and the girl she's with.
Wait, is that a sign that Maddie's the murderer? Because she just dismissed us when we...
Right? We asked her a point-blank question, and she changed the subject. Maddie's the murderer. See, we all thought that she was best girl of the podcast, but no, she's the murderer.
Or reverse engineer this. Every time you think someone's a murderer because they dismiss a question, it's actually because the answer was fucking stupid and they're stupid and they didn't feel like answering.
Keiichi meets up with Tomitake and the girl that he's with, and she has a sprite, so she's important. We learn her name in about 30 minutes, but she shows up and we don't know her name.
She's not important enough for us to know her name yet.
So Take tells him about the curse of Oyashiro, which is how I wrote it, but I misspelled it 50 times, so I don't know if that's right. But
Oyashiro is correct.
Yeah, so speaking about these fake Japanese words, so not the Japanese is fake, but these are fake words in Japanese. So in Umineko, the people's last name is Ushiromiya, which in my brain, until yesterday, when I finished reading Volume 9 Omnibus of this fucking manga, I realized it was Ushiromiya and not Hiroshima. I was just dyslexicing part of it the whole time, said it out loud to friends and family and Francesco and Summer and everything, and I was super wrong. And so Oyashiro-sama is another one where I'm just like, I don't think that's right. But
you ought to be ashamed of yourself, Sam.
Yeah, I'm Japanese dyslexic. Like, I moved whole syllables. It's not like I switched words. I moved whole syllables, so I was properly Japanese dyslexic. So, so the curse of Yashiro-sama is every year someone dies around the festival. At the first time, there was a man and his wife that were pro-dam, but they lived in Hinamizawa, and they died the year that the dam was stopped. Then there was a priest who died of a sudden illness the next year. Then there was a woman who was beaten to death in abuse the year after. And Keiichi's like, what about the next year? And he's like, who do you think it will be?
That's the year that is this.
That is this year. Who do you think it'll be? It's probably not me. I'm really safe.
I'm not from here. I have different customs.
Yeah,
Look at my crazy passport.
So Keiichi's freaked out, and he goes home, and I was expecting, because his parents couldn't make it to the thing, and Tomitake mentions how it's like, oh, it's always people that like didn't respect the town and its customs or something. And so since his parents didn't go to the festival, I was like, he's going to open the door, and their corpses are going to be everywhere. Like, here it is.
Yeah, I actually kind of thought that
but
too.
Then everything was fine.
I didn't.
But then everything was fine, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Oh, did we mention when Tomitake leaves, everybody signs his shirt?
Oh, no, we didn't. I skipped over that. So yeah, went right before the...
Yeah, that's an important bit.
So right before the ceremony part of the festival started, Tomitake won some... thing. No, so he won it right before, and then they gave him the shirt after. So he won. He's like, oh well, what? No, he didn't win. He lost completely. It was his.
No,
penalty.
he lost. That was his.
So his penalty was they got to write all over his shirt, and what they did was they did like you do in middle school on somebody's graduation day, and you sign all their shirts or whatever, and it was super duper adorable and cute, and everything was wholesome for the last time.
Yeah, I love how everyone I feel like Tomitake is that very special kind of character that shows up in real life sometimes in people's lives, where it's like you're not really close, you don't totally know what their deal is, but they're around just enough for you to just be like, look, it's that guy,
right?
But like you like that guy, you know? You're like, hey, oh yeah, it's that guy. We love that guy.
How's it going today, that guy?
Cool.
So, Yes. So the next morning at school, we get to meet the teacher Chie, and she's hot. And
Yep.
and so she tells everyone to not talk to reporters, which seems sketchy as fuck. And I now was like, oh wait, no, I don't think I'm looking for a murderer. I think I need to move from Hinamizawa. None of this seems safe. So then the game
it's like, I've seen Twin Peaks. I know that you should leave a town where everyone seems suspicious and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the game that the...
But they have Douglas firs.
Look at those Douglas firs.
Yep. Sorry, go on.
So the game club plays Clue, but instead of Colonel Mustard, etc., it's all the girls and Keiichi's names. So every time someone was like, Rena is the murderer with a knife, I'm like, all right, let me write that down because Rena's going to murder somebody with a knife. This, like, of all of the obvious foreshadowing, this one I feel was the most obvious foreshadowing.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about this game? I feel like the game assumes that you've already heard about the game.
Uh-huh.
Like, don't get me wrong. There's some obvious foreshadowing about murder in the game's text itself.
Uh-huh.
But mostly it's like, no, you've heard that this is a fucked up game with murders.
Yeah.
So they're like playing with you so hard, and it's like cute. It's like, we're just gonna keep making shit that seems like it's murders.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
not to spoil Umineko too bad, but I was mentioning this last night to Eli, that the game that Ryukishi is playing with you and making you double doubt everything and try and figure out what's going on while you're playing Higurashi is the text of Umineko. So there's a character, Beatrice, who literally knows everything, and she's like, I did all of this with magic. And then you have another character, Battler, who's like, magic is fake and gay, so this isn't this isn't real. So
Homestuck reference.
it's yeah, that was Homestuck reference, not bigotry, just for the reference out there. But
even if Sam was bigoted, he would at least be bigoted in a way that wasn't like from the year 1998.
yes. And so he's like, magic is fake, and I'm going to prove it wrong. And so she's like, all right, here's some obvious magic. And he's like, no, but this could just be an excuse, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, holy crap, that's me playing Higurashi. It's just like, wait, no, she did it, and Clue was is the way that they pass passwords on who they're going to kill back and forth, and all of this crazy shit is going on in my head. And that's what Umineko just
That's especially cool
does.
because Umineko came out like 5 years later.
Yeah. It's super cool.
Yeah.
But anywho, so Keiichi and Rena suck really bad, and they both have like negative points. So they pretend to use the restroom so they can figure out a way to cheat. And Keiichi is called to the front because he has a guest, and so Rena goes back in, and Keiichi goes outside, and it's
Here I am going, it's Keiichi's mom coming to say that his dad is missing.
but
Or something
And it
like
was.
that.
It's the murderer coming to murder him.
And it's also important to know that Rena is here at the moment when he's called to the front, and because that comes up in a second. Because Keiichi doesn't remember that, but we do, and we say, "No, Keiichi, no." Sorry.
Yeah.
So some middle-aged man that we haven't met before shows up, and he's a cop, and he has a Sprite, and he's a cute
I got a
old man.
Steam card of him early on, so I knew that
Nice.
he would be a thing.
Yeah, he's a cute little chunky Japanese detective cliche, and I love him so much. So he invites Keiichi to his car because his car has air conditioning, and Keiichi talks about how crazy it is that cars have air conditioning now, and he's barely seen an air conditioner ever before in his life. And I'm like,
And I forgot this game took place in 1983.
and I was just like,
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I did not grow up in the 80s. I could not imagine being in Texas before
Right?
air conditioning.
80s kids always talk about how cool the 80s are, but apparently they forgot to mention they didn't have fucking air conditioning.
Yeah, fuck that shit. So he asks Keiichi if he knows Toмотake and Mio. The girl now has a Sprite after she's dead, and or just missing. But so he then asks if he knows about the curse of Oyashiro-sama, and turns out that Tomitake is dead and Mio is missing. And Tomitake's shirt had all of the good lucks from the club on it, and that's how they found Keiichi. And they knew that Keiichi wasn't from around here, so he would probably talk about it because the cops don't even trust people from Hinamizawa. So Tomitake's throat had been ripped open as if by human fingernails, and
exactly by human fingernails.
His own fingernails
somehow.
And they found him out near the edge of town where the road had started to become paved, where there are no streetlights. It's like where the real street ends and the bumpkin street begins.
Hell yeah. Real my hometown hours and your hometown
right?
hours.
I was like, I know exactly where that is in Handcover. And it's true. There are no streetlights over there. But, and so they checked for drugs in his system to see if this was like a drug-induced hysteria, and it wasn't. But not the cause of death. He had a bunch of external energies that showed that he was assaulted by multiple people. And the cop came to Keiichi.
Perhaps 6 different people.
Right? So the cop came to him because he knew he wouldn't just blame the curse. And the cop was like, tell me if you hear anything, but keep the investigation a secret from your friends because it's probably a town conspiracy. Because, the killings all benefit Hinamizawa, and they happen on the festival, which isn't a festival anywhere but the town. It's like, that's just like June 11th for everyone else, but in this town, it's a big night. So it's like, it's highly likely that it's somebody from the town, and there's only like 50 people here, so don't trust anyone.
It turns out we may be playing Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously that's the whole time I was playing the game, I was like, this is like that thing where you go to a town and the whole town is in on a weird cult thing, and Hot Fuzz was obviously what I was subtly thinking of, and I couldn't place it. Thank you, Eli.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should say Hot Fuzz, the visual novel that says it's some sort of game.
No, all you gotta do is you just gotta use copious air quotes. We're playing Hot Fuzz the game.
The game.
I like this video game a lot.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, have you ever seen the subreddit Suspicious Quotes? It's
yes.
But now I want to go look at it.
Well, I don't go on Reddit, but I know what you're talking
about. It's people that use quotes for emphasis instead of what you use quotes for. And so it's
always old people.
And so it's like, come buy some hot dogs. And it's like, no.
Oh, I love shit like that.
The best hot dogs in town.
Yeah.
So each year, the, quote, enemies of the village bar has gotten lower and lower and lower, and so the cops is like, anyone could be next. You could, like, sneeze in front of town hall, and you're going to be fucking killed next, so watch out. You might be in trouble. And the cop also mentions that...
Not until next year.
Right? The cop also mentions that Mion's family was the ones that led the protests against the dam, and Mion herself has a record of obstruction of public worker offenses from during the protests. And he's like, definitely don't talk to Mion. I don't necessarily suspect her directly, but if there was a conspiracy, she would be in on it. And don't tell people you're an outsider because they can and will kill you for less. So we finally learn his name, which is Oishi-san, which is very close to Oishi-san, which Oishi is delicious, and so he's just, and so O in Japanese means big, so this guy's Big Delicious. That's his name. Big Tasty.
That rules. Big Tasty.
Yeah, it's spelt differently, so it's not what it is, but Romaji is a curse, and no one should
I
ever...
love it when you call me Big Tasty.
No one should ever try and understand Japanese from the Romaji, because it's like five steps separated from what the actual meaning is. So it's not Big Tasty, but he's Big Tasty.
To us, he will
I don't think there's anything wrong with being Big Tasty. It's fine.
So, back in school, Keiichi purposefully loses to Rena and Clue so that they tie and they get to go shopping together because he already got a kiss and he wants another one. And so the next day, or maybe just later, I don't know. It's hard to tell when an actual day passes because the chapter menu calls each chapter day 1, day 2, but then there was a week skip, and one day took place over 3 days. So I really don't.
Yeah,
I lost
the first 4 chapters were all precisely one day, but then after that stops happening.
Yeah. So the next day, Keiichi is pretending to sleep in class, and he hears Mion and Rena talk about the curse, and they dropped being demoned away or Oninakashi as a different
Onikakushi.
Onikakushi. Yeah, I think
yes.
it was a typo here. I think I have it right everywhere else. But Onikakushi, which is the subtitle of this first game, and they talk about it like something else that could be causing disappearances and not just murder. It's like just as important as Tomotaki-san died is, oh, this girl's missing, and it's probably Onikakushi. So Keiichi wakes up, and Miona's like, oh, I have to go help my uncle at his store, which is important.
I have to help my uncle at his store.
Yeah. Which is why when I was those early tips about her uncle's store and what it does, this is why it's all cluing in for me. I'm literal.
Just imagine though.
I'm literal Charlie Day with this fucking game right now.
Imagine if this earlier tip scene hadn't happened canonically, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta help my uncle at the." It's like, where are you going?
Right.
Store, and they're like, "What kind of store?" And she's like, other schools' uniforms store.
It'd be such a bad excuse, which it probably is. That's where they kill the people. Sorry.
That's where they get the other uniforms for. It's from the people they murder.
Yeah.
And they're only doing it for the uniforms. They can't think of any other way to get them.
So everyone was like, oh, let's still play a game, and they're super like, hey, let's do the club. And so Keiichi pulls out Clue, and they're like, never mind, gotta peace out, gotta be somewhere else, which definitely makes me think that Clue is a clue. And inside the box, there's a suspect card they didn't play with last time that has Satoshi on it. And he's like, who's Satoshi? Was he in the club? And Rena was like,
Ash from Pokemon in Japan.
And
oh yeah.
Which, by the way, did you see yesterday that Ash is on the way out? There's a new protagonist. Ash is a Brock next season.
Whoa.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, since he finally won the fucking Elite Four for once.
Yeah.
So it's like he's still a dual protagonist where like he'll travel with everyone, but there is another protagonist that we're following just as much next time. So it's
I think if he's the new Brock, he should also have his eyes closed all the time.
I was gonna say, they tried to murder him, but he just went into a coma, and now he's in the Pokemon world. Like that's where the creepypasta comes from.
This is Pokemon Creepy Black now.
Yeah.
So Rena says that Satoshi must have been in the club before she moved there, and so on the way home, Rena says Keiichi looks tired, but it was the same quote when Rena first came here, and she starts speaking in third person, and I listened to the Japanese, and she's definitely saying Rena instead of watashi or atashi. So she's definitely speaking in third person right now, and I don't understand what that's about. And I put a million question marks because it caught my eye where she was like, oh, that's when Rena first came here. And I'm like, that's weird that she would be speaking in third person. But then they like harped on it, and it was weird. And I don't know if it means anything, but this game has me fucking guessing fucking grammar at this point. So Keiichi then asks if
it has me guessing grammar and gramper.
Yes. Grammar and gramper. So Keiichi then asks point blank, he's like, are you guys hiding something from me? Like, I always stop talking when I walk into rooms and yada yada yada. And Rena deflects, and he's just like, no, like for real, like you can tell me what's going on. And then Rena's sprite changes to have big ass creepy eyes. It's super creepy in the manga gamer version, because in the mod as well, it also zooms in on her sprite, which feels like she's
like
right fucking there at you. Hold on.
Up in your face, yeah.
Okay, hold on, I'm going to screenshot it for you so you can see the Manga Gamer one, because we checked all of the sprites for creepiness, and the Manga Gamer sprites were the most creepy. By a landslide.
We've tested these several sprites for their creepiness.
Yeah, it's super fucking creepy.
Consumers say...
Ah!
Yeah, it's like nuts. And she's right up in his face.
Oh, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
she's like, well then, Keiichi-kun, aren't you hiding something from us? You lied about going to the principal's office. You got in the car with someone that we didn't recognize. Who was he? He was no one to me. I wasn't even talking about you guys, which is like the worst way to play something off. Be like, well, it wasn't talking about you, whatever it was. They did it.
I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Dave.
Yeah, and
That's the face that she's got.
And then Eiichi's like, haha, I'm in danger.
I'm in danger.
And then the best part, so it cuts to a CG of an even closer scary face from the PS2 art. And she's like going off at him, and he's like, "No, it's not nothing. It's nobody. Like it was nothing." And she just screams at him, "Lies!" And it's good. It's a great scene. It's super creepy. You can watch just that scene on YouTube if you haven't played the whole thing. It is very well made. I really, really enjoyed reading this part.
This is where Eli really gets into the game.
So Keiichi says that the person that's in front of him is not Rena, and I can't tell if he's being metaphorical or not because she was speaking in third fucking person, and he's just like, that's not Rena in front of me, but he could just be like, I actually don't know these people, I thought I did, but maybe it's not Rena and it's body snatchers, and that's where we're going with this. Who knows?
Yeah.
So
it's all very up in the air.
yeah, he suddenly can't breathe and feels like he's being held back against his will. And she goes off about how he has his secrets and they have theirs, and that's just the way it is. And if he can't fucking play ball, he needs to get off home plate or whatever the fuck you would say in those moments. And
If you can't stand the heat, get out of the oven.
and so Keiichi is like freaked out and is like, whatever, I'm going back home. And when it gets home, he gets a call from Big Sexy or Big Tasty, and they talk.
That escalated quickly.
So I grew up watching wrestling, and the Giant changed his name to Big Sexy at one point, and it just is stuck in my head forever. But So yeah, it gets a talk from Big Tasty, and they talk about Onikakshi and how there's also a missing person and a death each year, and if sometimes they did it as 2 deaths, but they never found the body. So like each year there was a loss of a person and also a death of a person of some sort. So the first one was the foreman died, and the guy that escaped, and they're still on the hunt for him. Maybe he was taken, and then like the wife that died with the guy, like she drowned herself in the river, they thought, because that's what her suicide note said, but then they never found her body in the river, stuff like that. Like each year somebody had disappeared. And so he's like, hey, so when I was pretending to sleep in class, Rena was really freaked out and was asking if she could be next. And Big Tasty is like, okay, well, maybe.
Are you next?
He's like, well, maybe. So just keep an eye out for more stuff, and let me know if you hear anything. And so then Dad comes up and is like, Keiichi-kun, what are you and Rena doing in there? And he's like, what? He's like, she came up an hour ago, and I heard you guys talking, and right as I got here, she just left. And he's like, wait, so she's been here for an hour and has been on the other side of my paper-thin Japanese bedroom door? And he's like, yeah, like, is that like, what were you guys talking about? And he's like, she never ever came in, which means she was just outside the door and listened to me ratting her out to the police. And then Luna shows up and is like, hey, Sam, stop playing somehow. And that's where we stopped for the week. And
Yep.
Yeah, it was a
There we go.
a cliffhanger. So, well, first, yada yada music, yada yada memorable moments. I gotta get to it. So, this isn't a memorable moment, but this is something that completely changed the whole game, and I was spoiled on it, but I asked Francesco, and it's a fake out spoiler, because the thing that in the game is a mystery turns out to be not even important by the time we even get to the end of this episode. So I'm spoiling it for you, but it's a pre-fake, not real spoiler. So
gotcha. So like this is a spoiler for a surprising scene, but then it turns out it's not really.
Yes. So
gotcha.
Okay.
So
MGS2 has one of those.
Yeah. So me and Summer finished this, and we're like, fuck, we're not scheduled to record this for another 2 or 3 weeks. And so we're like, well, what the fuck do we do? And we're like, let's go watch the anime and see how it is. And so the beginning scene, which we glossed over a little bit, like has this rhythmic, like impact sound, like maybe an axe or something. Like it's definitely someone getting the shit beat out of them at the beginning. And it's made to sound like probably Rena is killing probably Keiichi, is how the thing is. In the anime, they animate that scene, and it's Keiichi killing all of his classmates.
Yeah.
So, funny fact is, I was going to mention, this is a good time to mention it. Yeah. I was going to mention that earlier when you were narrating the opening scene. I actually picked up on that. In the opening scene, at the beginning of it, it seems like the narrator's getting murdered, but in the back half, it actually seems like the narrator's murdering someone else.
Okay. But
yeah, I actually was like, wait, this has shifted. It now seems like this person is the one doing the killing and not getting killed.
Yeah. And so
yeah, I can't explain it exactly, but it's really cool.
Yeah, so it was at that exact moment after the first second, and then the title music starts, and me and Summer just turn the TV off. We're like, yeah, no, this is going to spoil so many things.
Yeah, we're not watching this.
We're not watching this at all. It was so wild to me. Like it brought up like all of the questions that I had were like perfectly formulated. Like, which of these girls can I not trust? What is going to happen? Sort of questions. But now with that one, I have way too many other questions, and that I don't even have in the basis on.
Well, even in that weird, mysterious narration monologue thing halfway through after the festival, there's a part about where he's like, I never thought I would become a murderer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's wild. It's good. But, real memorable moments now. Unless you guys want to make guesses on who the killer is. And I mean, we won't figure it out at the end of the next episode, so I'll just tell you guys when I finish it.
Yeah, I don't really have any good guesses. I mean, I have a lot, but not that are worth talking about. I have 2 things I want to say. One, I'm actually on Bernard's team here regarding the fact that where is it? Hold on, let me pull it up.
About the music?
Yeah, the music is definitely Clowntown Hoedown. Just gonna put that out there. It's not bad though. It's fine.
It's like default Clowntown Hoedown, but like I don't know, it's not bad Clowntown Hoedown. I've played a lot of...
No, it doesn't detract from the game. It's not like I want to mute the music, but it's also just like, yeah, this, this is a fun scene. Or, this is just a normal, good-natured day at school. Yeah, this music sounds like the music that happens when you're having a good time at school. And like nothing more than that, really.
It's worth noting that all of the OST soundtracks don't have this music on it. All of the OST soundtracks sound like JRPG boss fights, which also just asks so many questions about where the fuck the story is going.
In addition, now I do think the game makes incredibly good use of the cicada sound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every time it's doing the ambient cicada sounds, I'm like, oh, that's the good shit. Anyway, my moments are very just random. When you're at the festival, Rena is like explaining things, and I'm going to say this out of context because it's funny. The line I have screenshotted here is just Rena, and she says, a hoe that's used for this festival. And I'm just like, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Mion? So that's one of mine. Another one of mine is there's this part where you're getting what is it? You're doing one of the tips. It's one of the backstories, and I think it was the one that was like the really serious one about the murder that happened. And
from the tabloid.
And then like the murderer. They never found the arm, but then maybe he crashed his car. Like very serious, like news story, like dark and heavy. And then after you get to the end of it, there's like a little chime, and then some fucking like.
Honky tonk clown town music,
clown around hoedown music comes in, and it says the Zijin Dragon, bringer of luck and fortune, and then it goes on and on and basically it's an ad, right?
End of the article.
It's an ad for shit, and they put the ad in the thing. It's really funny. It's like just 2,900 yen, you know?
It's so good.
Yeah, I love that.
So that
there was another one.
Yeah, well, what's yours?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there was another one where it's Big Tasty given like a police report, and then he ends it with like, what he wants for breakfast or something like that. Like he wants donuts or something. It just reminded me of Twin Peaks, where from the original series, Coop and Harry Truman are sitting in the car together, and Harry says something really serious about what they're doing, and Coop's response is, "Get me a donut."
Yep. That's how you know it's serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about the tips right now, one of the name and face I have for the killer is in one of the news articles about the before I get to that, as just a pure memorable moment, when you talk when you go through the scene with Big Tasty about his all the people that disappeared, the tips you get are the newspaper articles about him, and so you can read all of those. And the last one about the wife that died from abuse, it says there was no coverage, and that's the whole tip. It's just like it wasn't reported on, and it's like, that's good.
Yeah.
That's some good shit.
Yeah, that's.
But
I like it.
In one of the ones talking about the protests, they talk about the group that organized all of the protests, and it is led by a guy named Okanogi, I think, because it's a recurring character that's not a recurring character in all of the When They Cry books, so I'm pretty certain that's where this Okanogi is. But it's like Okanogi did he was in charge of all of the protests and everything back in the day. And then at the festival, there's one about the festival, and it's like, oh hey, we need people to bring chips and juice for 14 people or whatever, and it's like signed festival president Okanogi. So I'm like, oh, the festival is fake, it's just where they kill people, like it's not even a real thing, like no one cares about it, that's just the cult ceremony where they decide who to kill each year. And
so
like that was my little like super aha moment that I gotta credit Summer, because she was the one that, wait, I know that name, and we went back and reread the other one and found it. But
I had one of those as well, and I meant to bring it up earlier when Keiichi is talking with Officer Big Tasty over the phone, at the point where Rena is listening in. Satoshi gets mentioned, and it turns out his last name is Hojo, which, if you were paying attention, is also Satoko's last name.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So, I don't know what connection they may have, because Satoshi was a transfer student, but I'm thinking there's probably
that'll
something
come
there.
up.
Maybe they killed her because there can only be one.
But yeah, I didn't even bring up the fact that he was like, oh yeah, the kid that's missing from 2 years back or whatever was named Satoshi. And and if I remember correctly, the timing that he says and Reina's timing of when she joined the group didn't match up, but I didn't write notes on that, so I think there's something fishy going on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
one little moment that I just remembered that I had is speaking of murders. Imagine that, talking about this game. the original story is that 6 people murdered the foreman, right? Maybe this was just me reading too much into it, but I thought it was a really clever little twist because as soon as they said that there were 6 people murdering the foreman, I was thinking like this entire group is going to murder someone, just like you thought, with the game club, right?
Yeah.
But there's 5 of them, right? There's 5 of them, and I'm like, but there's supposed to be 6 because there's 6 murderers. And then when you get to the night of the festival, what's his butt joins your team. And they make like a big deal about him like being an honorary member of the game club, and I'm like, oh, now there's 6. This is great. They were like,
and now we're going to play the most dangerous game.
Yeah, and I was actually really surprised that he got murdered because I was legitimately thinking like, now there's 6. They can go murder someone now to fulfill like the parallelism, the prophecy.
Now
right?
It's okay for them to go.
So maybe it was intentional fake out. Maybe it was just not even something that was on purpose because that wasn't what actually happened.
Just one of those interesting parallels.
Yeah, it was. But just the idea of the dramatic buildup of like, there can't be a murder yet. There's only 5 people, and then as soon as this, and sure enough, though, as soon as the 6th person joined the team, there was a murder not long after.
And that 6th person went missing, just like in the first.
So maybe you are onto something, Maddie.
True, although in the original story, the 6 people murdered someone else.
True, but one of the 6 is still gone. So,
wait, what? No, one of the 6 is dead.
One of the originals, one of our 6 is dead. One of the original 6 is missing.
Oh, the original 6.
Yeah,
yes,
so
yes,
it's like one
true.
of the original 6 is gone, and one of our 6 is gone. So maybe you still are onto something.
Yeah.
But to switch gears to when this was a happy game. So there was when you first are meeting the underclassmen, Satoko is crying, and Rika comes up and is like, there, Satoko-chan, don't cry. And Keiichi's like, wow, Rika is so mature for her age. And then she's like, you can set up a better trap next time. And he's like, wait a minute. Just the wait a minute narration fucking got me. But then also at the picnic when they're trying to out embarrass Rena, when Keiichi is like, did you make this one? It has your smell. Just fucking floored me.
Well, and they literally do the thing, and this is actually one of my screenshots. They do the thing where, like, to show the impact this has on Rena, the image gets like color negative reversed. So she's like,
oh yeah.
So she's like,
it's so good. And so then, my last, I guess all of mine are stupid, fun, happy ones. I didn't write any more murder ones. So, when Keiichi's like, oh, I have to go use the restroom, Mion gives him a friendly upperclassman tip that is like, wait to go use the can until you really, really have to go. That way it's a lot easier since it'll just shoot right out.
Oh boy.
And then
thanks for the advice on using the bathroom.
And then similarly, later when he's actually leaving to go to the restroom, she goes, squeeze out a nice one for me.
Oh, she has such a dirty sense of humor in all ways.
I love it. Did you have any more that you had jot down, Eli?
At the festival, when they do the cute competition, so Keiichi and Rika stay behind because they're sure that they have the cutest things already, and so Satoko and Mion both run off, and they come back with like these beat up old signs, and of course, Rena thinks that they're super kawaii. They're super cute. Kawaii. They're cute. Which is, like, fucking weird. And even Keiichi's like, what the fuck is with this girl? And then, Rika's cute thing is, so Rika is dressed up in traditional Miko garb, Shrine Maiden garb. For those who don't know the term Miko, which there's a bunch of weebs listening to us, I'm sure everybody knows what the hell I'm talking about. But anyway, so she's already looking very cute, and then what she does is she takes a few little dainty steps, falls over, and goes...
That's all she has to fucking do. It's great.
Yeah. And of course, Rena starts having a nosebleed from how cute it is. Keiichi then takes, like, he's like, I have to actually show you elsewhere. And I'm like me, I'm actually starting to think, like, where are you going with this, Keiichi? And he, like, takes her off somewhere.
Yeah.
To show her the cute thing.
Yeah, I really thought that it was going that way too, and then all of the group started thinking it. I'm like, oh, it's a misunderstanding.
I thought he was just gonna straight up like kiss her. Like, look, you know what? This girl clearly likes me. Kissing her is a bit much, but I want to win this game, so fuck it. I'm just gonna go all the way. But no, yeah, thank God he does not show her his dick.
They come back, and he says. Or they're like, well, what did he show you, Rena? And she goes, he showed me his furry seal. And they're all like, what the fuck? And they had to explain, like, no, he's got a little keychain that he made when he was a kid, and it's like a little furry seal. And it's super kawaii.
Oh, it's so good.
But yeah, I loved that scene in particular.
Did you have another one, Maddie?
No, but I just remembered a technical thing I want to compliment. Okay. It's fucking brilliant. When you're not in auto mode, when you're in click-through mode, if you click through a line of dialogue before it's finished, and the following text box is not dialogue, it's narration, the previous line will just keep going.
Yeah. I like
it's great. So you don't have that auto cutoff, even though like you are speeding through it.
Yeah.
It's also, whenever you hit the button to advance the text, it does just take a second for the text to fade and the next one to come up, and maybe the image on the screen changes. And again, while all that's happening, the dialogue will just keep going. Yeah. So unless someone else literally stops talking, you never get that instant cutoff. It's cool.
Yeah.
I want to clear up some of my feelings on the game too, about like why I'm having trouble with this. So if the narration was in English, and I could set it to the side, and I could listen to the game while doing other stuff, it wouldn't be a problem. As it stands, I feel like I'm doing nothing when I play. Because all I'm doing is, like, I feel slightly better clicking through the dialogue, because then I have some agency. But if, like, the only thing I could do while I was watching was, like, eat. And even then, I had to be careful because, like, if I looked down at my food too long, I'd miss some bit of dialogue or some bit of narration.
I definitely get that. It's better to treat visual novels as a shitty anime that you can watch at your own pace than a video game. Even though I do think that we should, like, interactivity, like, just clicking dialogue counts as interactivity, so this is a game. But that's a whole different thing about what's a game and what's not. But
I was also very disappointed when, like, you all said, like, oh, there's narration, and the narration helps, or the voice acting helps, and then I got it, and it was all Japanese voice acting. I was like, this doesn't help at all.
It helps it feel more like an anime and more like an RPG cutscene.
I really like having it
instead of just the.
That makes sense.
Like the original style for it is literal, just wall of text, like dinosaurs in Pakistan style, just screen with text on it, and that's a lot harder to get into than the other one.
Random little shout out I just want to say, because Eli, what you just said reminded me of something very interesting. You'll see why this is related when you play it. My favorite, maybe my favorite independent game designer, Ink Repair, whose real name I blank out on right now, but Ink Repair is amazing if you go to his website. He's the guy who made English Country Tune and Steven's Sausage Roll. Oh, Stephen Lavelle, that's his name. Anyway, if you go to his website, he's made like a fucking 100 like tiny little freeware games, and they're
that's him?
all brilliant.
I just had happened upon his freeware games back when I was starting my Let's Play channel back in the day, and when I didn't have friends over, I would just go through and play one of his random games all the time, and I loved them.
They're all brilliant.
They're so weird and like good.
Did you ever play Q?
I don't think so.
I need a link to that.
I ain't going to say nothing about it. In fact, maybe we should even do a little episode about it sometime.
Sure.
But the game that's called Q, like Q-U-E-U-E, about like, like waiting in line.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little short narrative game. And I'm not going to say anything, but it has a lot of interesting commentary on this conversation we're currently having about interactivity, and yet you can't just face out and look away because it's got narration and blah, 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 blah. I won't say anything more. Y'all might hate it. I love it.
Nice. So my last memorable moment was during the zombie tag. Keiichi has the great idea to trick Mion into getting caught, where he tells two kids, one to go tell Satoko that she's needed at the front gate, and one to tell Mion that she's needed at the front gate, so that they'll meet up and Satoko will catch Mion, and it'll be brilliant. So then, of course, the girls all turn it on Keiichi, and all of these little like preschoolers are running around spreading rumors about Keiichi now. And I wrote down all of them, and this is like the game of telephone on how these rumors got bigger and bigger. So the first one was Keiichi's dad is at the gate. Keiichi's mom got sick. His house is on fire. A jumbo jet fell onto his house. The police are there to question him. They say that he enjoys peeping into bathrooms. Is it true that he's going around every night stealing panties? I heard that he wears panties on his head and because he likes to sniff them. And Keiichi the whole time is just hiding from Tag. He's like, I know it's all fake, but like, what's happening to my reputation right now?
I totally thought that they were going to do a cute little twist here, where the point is that there's all these fake rumors coming around, and then something big actually does happen, and he thinks it's fake. You know what I mean? And that's like an inciting plot incident. That would have been a cute way to do it, but oh well.
I feel like this game is faking us out a lot.
Yeah,
and I think that's what I like the most about it is having.
It's like Twin Peaks: The Return. Every scene, you're like, is something going to actually happen or not?
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer can go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But, yeah, I really enjoyed this game. Big shout outs to Francesco for putting it on my radar whatsoever. Being called When They Cry and being called and having cute anime girls on it with big doughy eyes. I thought that he was like, oh, you guys should play this because you like to talk about your feelings and you guys will all cry together. That's what I 100% thought I was getting into when I started playing this game. And I'm so glad that he actually paid us to play it so that I would realize I was wrong, because it is fucking nuts, and I'm glad. Yeah. And so yeah, that will do it for the week. If you want to be like Francesco and force us to play one of your games, you can do that at ko-fi.com/rpgbookclub. Click on the little commissions tab. As soon as both of these episodes go live, we'll turn commissions back on, because this takes a lot of effort and we don't want a big backlog of all of them, because we have to play the game and record the episodes, so it's not something I want 500 stacking up. So as soon as we finish the commissions will be back live, and you can force us to play Space Funeral 2 or whatever it is that's your favorite game that you want us to play. Next week we will be back for normal Lost Odyssey shenanigans, and in 2 weeks from when you hear this, you should get the next Higurashi if we all finish it in time. And then what else? Yeah, and then we're coming up on Halloween this month, and we have a Halloween game planned. So if you like RPG Book Club, do I have a holiday season for you? There's a lot of shit going on. But yeah, if you want to chat with us, if for some reason you started on this Higurashi episode, like, go back and listen to our other stuff. This is definitely just a special. We have weekly episodes, and you can find out all about that at www.rpgbook.club. And it has links to all of our social medias and our Discord, where we got a bunch of new friends this week. And we love all of our friends, and we want you to be our friend. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
Bye, folks.
Toodaloo.
Kawaii.
Kai.